You are now watching Cashapp ISH6XS YouTube horror movie channel.
What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host Marcus. Please be sure to shoot that like button, subscribe to the channel, as well as shoot that notification bell so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. In this video, I will be breaking down and reviewing Halloween Ends scene by scene in its entirety, as well as giving my final thoughts on the movie after watching it 4 times. But before I get into it, let's hit that intro. I shot him 6 times! As we are well aware, the much-anticipated trilogy for David Gordon Green's inception into the Halloween franchise, Halloween Ends, released last Friday in theaters and on Peacock, and finished #1 at the box office, raking in close to $44 million through the weekend. Though the financial success was expected for the film has garnered mixed reviews with fans, with some fans liking Halloween Ends and some fans absolutely hating it. With that being said, I am going to break down the movie scene by scene and give you guys my overall takes at the end, as well as my ranking for the movie. The movie opens up with DJ Willie the Kid from WURG 94.9 The Urge, Haddonfield's radio station, playing Midnight Monster Hop from Jim and Jack, which compared to the openings for the previous 2 films is a very different tone to start the movie off with. Another thing that is different is the opening caption lettering, as it is baby blue. This lettering is a callback to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, the only movie in the franchise that doesn't feature Michael Myers in it, and to be honest, seeing the lettering let me know that Halloween Ends will be a different type of movie compared to Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, and it also let me know that I should expect Halloween Ends to mirror Halloween 3 Season of the Witch to some capacity in terms of getting different with a Halloween film. We then pick up on Halloween Night 2019, a year after the events from the previous 2 films, where we are introduced to a new character in Corey Cunningham. Corey Cunningham's character is an homage to Arnie Cunningham's character in John Carpenter's 1983 film, Christine. Corey arrives at the Allen residence to babysit their son Jeremy while they attend a Halloween party close by. This is an obvious homage to Laurie Strode's character in Halloween's 1978. We then meet Jeremy as him and Corey are watching scary movies in the living room, where he begins to taunt Corey about Michael Myers coming back to get Corey, as well as telling Corey he's not going to pretend to be friends with an ugly-ass boy babysitter. Damn, this kid is so cutthroat you would have thought that he was a copycat Michael Myers in this film. After ordering Jeremy to go to bed, Corey goes in the kitchen for some chocolate milk and some leftover pastry that's left on the counter. When he hears something fall to the ground, he calls for Jeremy, but Jeremy doesn't respond. After checking outside, Corey realizes that the knife that was on the counter that he was going to use to cut the pastry is missing, when shortly after he hears Jeremy scream from upstairs for help. After finding the knife on the staircase, Corey enters a room that looks like an attic or some type of storage space. We then see Jeremy shut the door and lock it behind Corey. Corey pleads with Jeremy to let him out, but Jeremy won't listen, teasing Corey that Michael Myers is going to get him, prompting Corey to start kicking the door in order to escape. Mr. and Mrs. Allen arrive back at the house from the party, where they vaguely hear the commotion coming from upstairs, including hearing Corey say, "I'm going to kill you, Jeremy." The inevitable happens as Corey kicks the door open, but it smacks Jeremy and sends him flying over the staircase to his tragic death. Corey stands in shock as Mrs. Allen screams hysterically, "What have you done?" We then hit the intro of the movie, where we see the name captioning with deteriorating pumpkins overlapping each other, which I must say is a nice touch. We fast forward 3 years after the events of Jeremy's death, where we get some flashbacks from Halloween 1978, as well as Laurie narrating what she has been writing in her memoir, explaining how she has been able to move on from Michael Myers after the last 4 years since we last seen him kill her daughter Karen in the Myers home, while also explaining how the town of Haddonfield and its citizens have struggled with the mythology of Michael Myers as the town has turned on itself. You even see Oscar's mother succumb to the trauma of losing her son in Halloween 2018 while wearing the same devil costume that he died in. We fast forward to seeing Corey arrive at work at his stepfather's junkyard, where he does mechanical work, something that he was going to go to college for before the accident with Jeremy. The Junkyard is another homage to John Carpenter's 1983 Christine movie, as well as a reference to 1980s comedy drama My Bodyguard. Here we see Ronald, Corey's stepfather, give him an old motorcycle that he has no longer no use for to help Corey get to work on time. The bike is another reference to My Bodyguard. We pan over to Allison driving on her way to work, where she gets pulled over by Officer Doug Mullaney, who she was once dating at a point in time. What is interesting about Doug is that he is related to the Mullaneys, the group of kids that we seen picking on Lonnie Ingram in the beginning of Halloween Kills. And I'm going to go as far as saying that he was the boy in Halloween Kills who was picking on Lonnie, as he looks a good bit older than Allison. We then pan over to our first scene with the homeless man. Behind him you see the sewer Michael has been living in the last 4 years, to let you know this by playing a snippet of the Halloween theme while the camera pans. We then see Corey enter a convenience store for some chocolate milk. Upon leaving, he runs into the marching band bullies, Terry, Stacy, Billy, and Margot, as Terry tries to convince Corey to buy them some beer illegally. Corey denies Terry and then gets pointed out by Stacy as that psycho babysitter who killed that kid. As the bullies continue to hurl insults, Corey grows frustrated to the point where he breaks his milk jar in his hand, causing this gnarly cut. We then see Lori come to Corey's aid as the bullies continue to hurl insults at both of them, even branding Lori as a freak show and Corey as a psycho. As the bullies enter the store, Lori pulls out a pocket knife and asks Corey, does he want to slash Terry's tires or should she do the honors? Corey proceeds with the tire slashing and then hops into Lori's truck thereafter. We fast forward to Lori taking Corey to the hospital to see Dr. Mathis, who, keep in mind, at one point leading into the film was considered a possible candidate to be the copycat Michael Myers. Obviously, if you watch this movie, that is not the case. Here's where we see Corey Cunningham meet Allison Nelson for the first time, and after some conversation, he offers to fix her exhaust system after she tells him her car is rattling. Allison then proceeds to X Corey out, but Corey shoots her down out of nervousness. Oh yes, the good old radio tower. I remember when a lot of us thought this thing was a control mechanism behind Michael Myers' madness. Though it is not what we thought, it does have a purpose in regards to Corey. We then get our first look at Lindsay Wallace in this movie, as she is hanging out with Allison and Lori, discussing how Lori brought Corey to the hospital on purpose to meet Allison. We then see Corey at home, where we get introduced to his mother, whose character is an homage to Arnie Cunningham's mother and Christine, as she is very protective and controlling over everything Corey does. We then pan over to the junkyard where Allison goes to get her car fixed, but lets Corey know that she actually is really there to see him. Considering how Corey's story plays out, it's very interesting that they made it a point of Allison going after him. When we finally see Officer Frank Hawkins make his appearance into the movie, as him and Lori gush over seeing each other. Considering he had a major role in the previous two movies, it was surprising and disappointing that Hawkins hardly had any role at all in this movie. As Lori walks to her car, she is approached by a woman chastising her as Lori looks confused. It is then revealed that the woman is Sandra's sister. Sandra is Lori's neighbor who was attacked by Michael Myers and who watched her husband get killed in Halloween Kills, and much to my surprise, she survived those events. But she is mute, as she is no longer allowed to speak, given that Michael Myers jammed a light into her neck. We now see Allison and Corey at the Halloween party with her co-worker Deb, as Corey obviously gave in to Allison's request to go out sometime. Corey then runs into one of the partygoers, who proceeds to flash him with his costume of an open carcass. But this just isn't your ordinary partygoer. This man is none other than the OG Michael Myers himself, Nick Castle, swooping in with a cameo. After being chastised about Corey by Dev, Lindsay gives Allison words of encouragement, and Allison and Corey proceed to have a good time, dancing and taking pictures. However, all that comes to a screeching halt when Corey goes to grab a beer and runs into Mrs. Allen, who proceeds to tell Corey that she wakes up every day and can't get past the pain of losing her son, and further tells Corey that she doesn't believe it was an accident, flipping out and forcing Corey to leave the party. We then see Allison go after Corey and tries to tell him she understands how he feels in terms of people's perception and opinions of oneself. But Corey brushes this off and walks away after telling Allison that she cannot fix him and he won't waste her time. We then see Corey walking home only to run into the marching band bullies. I will say that this was a nice difference in terms of having the bullies be in the marching band and not your typical football player or basketball player bully trope. After pretending to call a truce that Corey rejects, Terry trips Corey up as he tries to walk away and proceeds to pick him up and shove him into his car. Corey then pulls out the knife that Lori gave him to slash Terry's tires, only to have Billy knock it out of his hand and send it over the bridge. After Corey tells Terry that he's only an asshole to people because how his dad treats him, a struggle ensues and Terry throws Corey over the bridge, even though he tells his friends that Corey slipped. The bullies then leave, not knowing if Corey is dead or alive. Oh my God, it is Michael Myers. The boogeyman himself has finally decided to come out and do something at exactly 38 minutes and 42 seconds into the movie. Michael then proceeds to drag Corey's body into the sewers instead of killing him. Odd. We then cut back to Lori's house where we see Allison slamming the microwave, distraught over Corey, as Lori attempts to console her, but Allison then just tells her to let her be mad. Lori warns that it is okay to be mad, but be careful about slamming things as it can be contagious. I mean, she would know, so I'm taking her word for it. We now cut back to Corey waking up in the sewers. As he goes to leave, Michael grabs him by the throat as we've seen in the trailers leading into the movie. But instead of killing Corey, he just stares into Corey's eyes very deeply, to where we then see a supernatural type of transfer of evil that Michael possesses transfer into Corey. As he breaks free from Michael's grip, we see Corey have flashbacks of different scenes throughout the franchise of Michael and Jeremy's death. As Corey escapes the sewer, he runs into the homeless man living under the bridge, who threatens Corey with the pocket knife that Billy knocked out of Corey's hand the night before, and tells Corey that he, as in Michael Myers, takes people in the sewers from time to time, and asks Corey why did Michael let him live and let him go, and to go back into the sewers and get Michael's mask, as he proclaims that he's the real Michael Myers. A struggle then ensues, and Corey ends up stabbing and killing the homeless man, pitching the knife and proceeding to run home, where he then looks in the mirror, where you see a change in demeanor, but most importantly, a change in his eyes, as they are pitch black, much like Michael Myers, the blackest eyes, as Dr. Loomer said in Halloween 1978. You can also say this is another reference to 1983's Christine, as Arnie Cunningham sported a very similar dark look when he was possessed by the car. We go back to Lori's, and after hearing Corey's motorcycle outside, Lori looks out the window and sees Corey watching her from the bushes. A call back to Halloween 1978 from when Michael Myers did the exact same thing while Lori was walking home from school. Lori then goes outside to see if she was sure about what she saw, only for Corey to pop up behind her and ask for Allison. As Corey asks Allison to take a walk with him, you can see the wind blowing behind Lori as she feels the same evil presence with Corey that she felt with Michael all those years ago. Corey and Allison then go for a walk to when Corey proceeds to tell Allison that he killed someone. He then proceeds to take Allison to the Allen's old house as it is abandoned and explains to Allison what really happened that night with Jeremy, and that the incident with Jeremy was really an accident and it wasn't murder. We then see Lori attempting to talk to Corey's mom about him, but his mom isn't having it, going as far as to say that the town dubbed Corey the new boogeyman because Lori's disappeared in reference to Michael Myers. We now get to this diner scene between Corey and Allison, where she talks about burning Haddonfield down and skipping town after Michael killed her parents, but didn't leave because all of her memories are in Haddonfield. Corey then proceeds to tell Allison he's no longer afraid of the people in Haddonfield, to where they get interrupted by Allison's ex-companion, Officer Doug Mulaney. Mulaney brings up the fact that Allison was supposed to call him, but didn't, to where she informs him that she is with someone. Mulaney then offers for them to come join one of his fellow officers' tables to celebrate their birthday, when Allison responds by saying, "We are good." But Mulaney won't back off, so Corey inserts himself by repeating what Allison said. Mulaney then realizes who Allison is with and begins to taunt her, prompting Corey to get in his face. Feeling the dark energy coming from Corey, Mulaney backs off, but this isn't the last time that we will see him. Corey then goes to drop Allison off. She invites him inside, but he passes, and in my opinion it's because he had a sense Mulaney was following him, as you can see the car in the background, so he decides to play the situation out. Corey baits Mulaney into following him underneath the bridge, where he attacks him, but Mulaney fights him off, prompting Corey to lead Mulaney into the sewer. How Michael's face got engraved in that stone, we will never know. How Mulaney didn't initially see Michael in that cutscene, we will never know that either, as he flashed the light right on Michael but somehow still did not see him. As Corey stands behind watching, Michael lunges at Mulaney, but Mulaney fights him off. Corey then smashes Mulaney in the face with the flashlight and starts yelling at Michael to get up. But unlike many times like we've seen before, Michael is having a hard time getting up, as he is no longer as strong as he once was, having it been 4 years since we last seen him and 4 years since he's been living in the sewers after taking a beating in Halloween Kills at the hands of the mob. This doesn't make any sense to me at all, but that's a conversation for another video. Michael musters his strength to get to his knife that he had hidden in the rocks and limps his way over to Mulaney as Corey encourages him by saying, "Show me," which is a direct nod to Christine's character, Arnie Cunningham, as he said the same thing to Christine when Christine had gotten totaled, all for the car to transform and fix itself after Arnie tells her to show him that she can do such. The exact same thing happens when Michael is stabbing Mulaney. Michael starts contorting, and it seems like he is transforming into his old self again after killing Mulaney, as he seems to be back at full strength. As they said in Halloween Kills, the more he kills, the more he transcends. And in this scene, it clearly looked like Michael was transforming back to his old self. After getting rid of Mulaney, Corey heads to see Allison as he is realizing that he is changing. As he says to her, "I do not know what's happening to me." He then asks her how did she escape Michael? Did he let her go, or did she just escape? And Allison responds that her mother saved her. As Lori pulls up and gets out of her truck, she looks on through the window as Corey and Allison head upstairs for the night. Michael can be seen stalking Lori 1978 style, but vanishes when Lori feels his presence. At this point, you can make an argument that the reason why Michael Myers kept Corey Cunningham alive, as well as transfer some of his evil into him, was for Corey to lead Michael to Lori. As in this movie, in my opinion, they made it a point that Michael is targeting Laurie Strode. As in the case of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, that wasn't what was happening. As in Halloween 2018, it was Dr. Sartain, Michael's doctor, who put Michael and Laurie in the same path. As well as in Halloween Kills, Michael completely ignored the fact that Laurie was at the hospital, continuing his rampage throughout the town of Haddonfield en route to his home. He was not focused on Laurie Strode in either of those movies. In this one, I believe they made it a point to make sure that Michael is targeting Laurie in Halloween Ends. As Corey wakes up, he sees the scarecrow mask that he wore at the Halloween party. They focused in on this shot, which kind of gave it away to me that he might use this mask to kill someone later on in the movie. Laurie is next seen talking to Lindsay Wallace at the bar about how she sees Michael Myers in Corey Cunningham's eyes, and swears that she saw Corey watching her. Lindsay then calls out for Roger, who is shooting pool behind Laurie. Lindsay tells Laurie to go talk to Roger, as Roger is Roger Allen, Jeremy Allen's father, the boy that Corey accidentally killed at the beginning of the movie. He tells Laurie he always liked Corey and that Corey was a good kid, and that he essentially believed that the death of his son was accidental and not intentional. He said he would see Corey here and there over the years, and he would get upset when he would see people mean mugging Corey, because he felt like the people of Haddonfield were taking his pain and despair and making it about them. He proceeded to tell Laurie that he pulled up to Corey a few days prior to this conversation to say something to Corey and to also prove his wife wrong about Corey. But when he did, he realized this wasn't the same kid as before, as he said it was in the eyes, and that the kid who accidentally killed his son isn't the same person he saw recently, and that Corey is heading down a dark path, leading him to question did the constant criticism from the town lead Corey to go down this dark path, or was this darkness always within Corey? We now arrive at Dr. Mathis's house, where he and Deb, who he promoted to a higher position at the job that Allison was supposed to get, are getting set up to have some fun for the evening. But while Deb goes to get the shower ready, Mathis, while setting up by the pool, is heard being attacked and killed by Corey. And it was a pretty swift kill, as Corey put a bag over his head and stabbed him multiple times through the side of the neck. As Deb realizes it's Corey Cunningham who has just killed Dr. Mathis, she locks Corey out of the house in an attempt to get away and call 911, only for Michael Myers to emerge behind her and proceed to kill her in the same fashion that he killed Bob, Linda's boyfriend, in Halloween 1978, with the classic pin against the wall kill. What makes this callback kill even better is while slowly dying, you see Deb look over at Corey before passing on. Corey and Michael killing or teaming up at the same time to kill, if you want to say that, at the same place and at the same time, is a reference to 1980's My Bodyguard movie as well. We then see Corey and Allison riding around Haddonfield until they end up on the roof of the radio station, where the importance of the radio tower for Corey Cunningham's character comes into play. Corey tells Allison after the accident he would come to the roof of the radio station for some sort of solitude to get away from the drama in his life. He would look up at the tower wondering if he could climb his way to the top, going as far as saying it was summoning him, like a watchtower, a beacon, calling him to live his old life and be happy again. Corey then tells Allison he has to get away from everyone he knows in Haddonfield, but doesn't want to go alone, further acting like he is going to harm himself as a joke. But when asked if he's trying to harm himself, he does state that he's not interested in immortality. We then see Corey Cunningham and Allison run into DJ Willie the Kid, who proceeds to call Corey an ugly motherfucker in one of the more funniest scenes of the movie, and chastise Allison about her grandmother Lori, saying he knows Lori's story and that Lori teased the man with brain damage in reference to Michael Myers. Man, these people do really just make up their own stories or versions of the events or versions of what type of character Michael Myers is. It's really disheartening. After the encounter with DJ Willie the Kid, Corey heads home only to be kicked out because his mother isn't too happy about his relationship with Allison. We then see Corey waking up at the Allens' abandoned residence as he hears something knocking, thinking that it is Allison, but it's not. It's Lori instead, but it's not actually Lori, as in this scene he's having a vision of him and Lori having a conversation. Lori explains to Corey the meaning of internal and external evil, while offering to help Corey with his evil, but explaining to Corey that he has to stay away from Allison because she is not equipped for this type of relationship, to where Corey responds, "You did this, you invited me in." This is important because at the beginning of the movie, Lori writes something in her memoir about letting evil inside. That was a clear tell of the direction they were going with Corey Cunningham's character, in my opinion. He proceeds to ask Lori, "Are you going to do it or will I have to?" in reference to harming oneself, telling Lori to let go and let Allison live her life, while also saying she should have gave in to the evil when she first looked into Michael's eyes all those years back in 1978, before realizing this conversation with Lori wasn't real. After seeing the vision of Lori, Corey calls Allison telling her that they need to leave and that Lori's trying to kill him and that they need to say goodbye to Haddonfield once and for all. We then next see Corey in a scene that will forever hurt my eyeballs go into the sewers to start wrestling with Michael Myers in an attempt to take his mask, and eventually Corey overpowers Michael, taking the mask from him while saying, "You're just a man in a mask, now what are you going to do?" Michael does his famous sit-up afterwards, but the damage was already done, as I feel this scene was nothing but disrespect to the Michael Myers character and the mythology of the character as a whole, in my opinion. We then see the marching band bullies come out of the store, only to find Psycho carved out on Terry's car, as Corey baits them into following him to the junkyard. We pan over to Allison packing up to leave Haddonfield with Corey Cunningham, and Lori pleading with her not to do so, trying to warn Allison about how she sees Michael Myers' eyes in Corey Cunningham's eyes, and that she feels Corey can cause real harm. Allison is defiant and claims that Lori is obsessed with death and that Lori is the one who's capable of real harm. You would think that after Lori warned Allison and others for so many years about Michael and turned out to be right, that Allison would at least be a tad bit more aware and heed her grandmother's warnings, but I digress. We pan back over to the junkyard where Corey starts his murderous rampage as a copycat Michael Myers, first killing Billy, then running down Margot, as Stacy was able to climb over the fence and avoid being hit. Terry then goes to get help from Corey's stepfather, Ronald, who is there at the junkyard but had the headphones on watching a movie, so he didn't hear much of the commotion. We pan back to Stacy attempting to help Margot when we see Corey exit the tow truck with a wrench in hand. The junkyard scene is a reference to both Christine and My Bodyguard, and I must say, with the score and the cinematography being so on point in this scene is one of the best kill scenes, if not the best kill scene of the entire movie, though I do really enjoy the Dr. Mathis kill a lot. After Corey kills Stacy with the wrench, a kill that we don't see, we had a few of those in this movie, we see Ronald give Terry a rifle as he loads up with what looks like a .357 Magnum, though I'm not no gun expert, so I can't be too sure about what type of gun Ronald has. We then see Ronald attempt to help Margot himself when she warns him that the person doing this is behind him. In disbelief, Ronald realizes that it's Corey. Terry then comes out and aims the rifle to shoot Corey. Ronald stands up to try to stop Terry from shooting Corey, only to get struck by the bullet Terry already fired. I will say it is sad that Ronald went out this way, considering how he had Corey's back the entire movie and seemed to care a lot about him. It reminds me of when Danny Trejo's character in Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween was killed by Michael, even though he was the only one at Smith's Grove who treated Michael any good. It's also worth to note that Corey disappeared into thin air when that bullet was fired by Terry, much like Michael Myers does. Does the mask give Corey the same powers that it gave Michael? That's for a later conversation. We then see Terry try to help Margot out by getting her out from underneath the fence, but Corey comes from behind him, snatching the rifle and hitting him with it, then proceeding to grab a torch and melt Terry's face off. Swift revenge. Corey then proceeds to finish off Margot with a stomp to the head, a callback to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and to Halloween 2018 with Sartain's death, as well as running over her with the truck after the fact, which is a callback to Halloween 2018 as well, when Sartain runs over Hawkins after stabbing him in the neck with the penknife. Corey driving the tow truck is also a callback to Halloween 4, The Revenge of Michael Myers. After the junkyard scene, Corey goes home to kill his mother, and another kill scene that we do not see play out on camera. Corey then takes his murderous rampage over to the radio station, where he destroys DJ Willie the Kid and his assistant, even going as far as cutting out Willie's tongue with a pair of pliers. I won't lie, Corey had some nasty kills in this movie. We now pan back to Laurie's house, where we see her call in the S word to the police, a word I will not say due to YouTube rules, as Corey looks from outside of her room. She shoots a pumpkin to trick Corey into believing she was dead. As Corey pushes the door open, Laurie asks Corey if he would really believe that she would do the S word to herself. She proceeds to fire 2 shots into his chest, where he falls over the banister into the downstairs floor, reminiscent to the opening scene of the movie with Jeremy. Laurie then proceeds to go downstairs and empty the rest of her clip on the wall as she tells Corey, "You came here to kill me, so do it," seemingly giving in to Corey. Corey then reaches for the knife, but then hears Allison's car rattling outside. He proceeds to let out a sinister laugh and tells Laurie, "If I can't have her," before shockingly turns the knife on himself. This tactic was to frame Laurie, as when Allison walks in the door and sees Corey on the floor bleeding out, Laurie had the knife in her hand from removing it from Corey, making it seem that Laurie had killed him. Allison then yells out, "You," to Laurie before leaving, implying that she was right about Laurie being the one capable of causing real harm. As Laurie goes into the dining area and leans up against the wall, she turns her head and realizes that the back door is open. We then see Michael retrieve his mask off of the floor. He goes to grab a hold of his knife, then we see Corey show one last ounce of life and grab a hold of Michael's arm. Michael then proceeds to grab a hold of Corey's head, stare deep into his eyes, then proceed to snap Corey's neck. I took this as a silent sign from Michael to Corey, letting Corey know that he could never truly be Michael Myers, but that is just my opinion. We then see Allison driving when she realizes that the radio tower is up in flames. At this moment is when she knows that this was Corey who has done this, and that Laurie was possibly right about him all along. We then hear Hawkins call Allison, letting her know about the S-word call to 911 from Laurie's house. We then get back to Laurie's, and we see Michael stalking and looking for Laurie as she hides in the pantry closet. She put some leftover food in the microwave and left it on so long so that it can explode to distract Michael. She then pops out and starts attacking Michael as we finally get to the final showdown that was much hyped since the movie was announced. They both get their fair share in, but ultimately Laurie gets the upper hand as advertised in the trailers and pins Michael to the kitchen counter by stabbing his hands down and partially throwing the fridge on top of him. Laurie then pulls out a large butcher knife and drives it into the side of Michael. She then pulls off of his mask and tells Michael, "I have run from you. I have chased you. I have tried to contain you. I have tried to forgive you. I thought that maybe you were the boogeyman. No, you're just a man who's about to stop breathing," as she slits Michael's throat. After a brief stare, we see Michael get his right hand free of the knife and starts choking Lori, as he is still very much alive. We then see Michael turn his head to look at Lori in her eyes, to where she tells him, "Do it." In this moment, we see what seems to be Michael transferring the evil that he possesses into Lori, as we see flashbacks from Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018, much like what happened with Corey earlier in the movie when Michael transferred the evil over to him. Before the transfer could be complete into Lori, Allison runs in and stops Michael from choking Lori to stop the transfer, further saying to Lori, "I am not going to let this happen to you," in reference to the evil consuming Lori and taking over. We then see Lori take the knife and slit Michael's wrist. Allison and Lori watch as Michael bleeds out. Hawkins then arrives on scene with other officers in response to Lori's 911 call. As Hawkins walks into the house, he sees Corey's dead body on the floor and calls for Lori. He then walks into the kitchen where he sees Michael pinned down on the counter as Lori tells him that he's dead. But then Allison adds, "Not dead enough." They proceed to tie Michael to the top of Allison's rack on Allison's car, as other officers try to talk them down. This is where we see Sheriff Barker arrive for the first time in the movie. One of his officers says to him, "This is not how it works," to where Barker responds, "It is tonight." This is a nice bounce back for Barker's character, as in Halloween 2018, he did not take the threat of Michael Myers seriously, and in Halloween Kills, he unraveled under pressure and lost all control of the situation completely. Hawkins then says it is time for Haddonfield to start healing, to which Allison follows up and says, "Let's show them all," in reference to letting the entire town know that they have captured Michael Myers. As the entire town gathers, including Sandra and the little boy Julian from Halloween 2018, they all head to the junkyard. With the help of the town, Michael is carried to the top of the scrap metal shredder. Lori then makes her way through the crowd as she walks to the top herself. The cinematography, the score, and the overall ambiance in this scene really gives you the feels if you're a Michael Myers fan, because you know what's about to happen. Allison takes a deep breath and turns on the grinder. Lori proceeds to push Michael in as we see the horror icon crushed into dust, finding a way to definitively kill the boogeyman once and for all in this timeline. The way they killed Michael is a callback to the audio of Dr. Loomis in the Halloween 2018, where he states that in order to kill Michael Myers, you have to shut down all of his vital signs and disintegrate his body. We next see Lori finishing her memoir as she states that the body of Michael Myers was disposed in a midnight procession. No tombstone, no memorial, the mysteries was put to bed, and that the story as they told it was to fade over time. We see Allison admitting to Lori that she was right about Corey and that she knows that he killed those people, to where Lori responds, "He was consumed by evil," to which her and Allison just stare at each other. Lori continues to narrate her memoir by saying the events that created so much violence and bloodshed in Haddonfield had finally been resolved. We then see Allison at the diner listening to the news report about Michael's death, as well as seeing the news report about the murders that Corey has committed. Afterwards, we see Allison packed up and driving away from Haddonfield, signaling that she has reached her breaking point and wants to start off fresh somewhere new. Lori continues to finish off her memoir as she states, "New beginnings lay ahead, fear moves through all of us, and we decide when to surrender. I've said goodbye to my boogeyman, but the truth is evil doesn't die. It changes shape." Lori then receives a knock at the door, and it's Hawkins, dropping her off a vegetable basket. He tells Lori he has been thinking about her, and he thanks her for what she did in terms of killing Michael Myers once and for all. He then tells her to enjoy, as there is a brief stare afterwards. Lori then asks him, "What is it you were saying about those cherry blossoms?" For further context, Hawkins asks to take Lori to go see the cherry blossoms in the grocery store scene earlier in the movie. He then sits next to Lori as she gazes off into the sky. We cut to the inside of the house from different angles where everything seems peaceful as if the evil is gone. This is a callback to 1978's Halloween ending as they pan through multiple angles of the house while you heard Michael Myers breathing with the Halloween theme playing. You can also say this is a nod to Scream 3's ending as well, as that movie was supposed to be the final chapter between Sidney Prescott and Ghostface, and when Sidney survives, we see a scene at the end where her back door opens, but nothing happens. No Ghostface came popping out, no nothing. A sign that her struggles were finally behind her, and that she can be at peace. The movie then cuts to the end credits, and the song playing is Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult, a callback to Halloween 1978 when Laurie was with Annie in the car on the way to go babysit Tommy Doyle and eventually Lindsay Wallace. Okay, everyone, so after watching this movie 4 times and going over almost every scene in this movie, I'm going to give you guys my overall thoughts for Halloween Ends and my final overall rating for the film. My final take on Halloween Ends is that this film is not only different from Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, obviously, as this movie, in my opinion, is about 2 things. Standing up to your bullies and your greatest fears, while also understanding that evil doesn't just come in the shape of just one man, it comes in multiple shapes from many different directions, and that you should be alert to this feeling when evil is amongst you. I rate Halloween Ends as a 4 out of 10, as not only was this movie disappointing in regards to the portrayal of its best character and main character, Michael Myers, but this movie lacked the suspense that made Halloween a household name to begin with. Let's also add the fact that the marketing surrounded for this movie was focused on the final showdown between Laurie and Michael Myers, and that it didn't live up to the hype. It was really lackluster at best. We got like a 6 to 7 minute fight scene. It was not worth the build up at all. This movie also falls flat with its returning characters and their storylines built in Halloween Kills, especially in terms of Detective Hawkins. But the number one thing for me was the fact that they went so heavy on their influences for Halloween Ends in terms of My Bodyguard, Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, and Christine, the 3 movie influences that David Gordon Green, said that influenced Halloween Ends. I felt like a lot of the scenes and the characters in this movie was ripped off from those characters and those scenes from those movies. I feel like I'm watching an updated version of those movies inside of a Halloween film where Michael Myers just stops in for a few and then pieces out. I understand and respect that David Gordon Green was trying to get different in a Michael Myers themed Halloween film, but how different did he really get when we've seen this formula done before in terms of the Corey Cunningham character, is what you got to really ask yourself, in my opinion. But alright, everyone, that's it for this video. Hit the comment section and let me know what you guys' thoughts is for Halloween Ends. Did you guys like the movie? Did you dislike the movie? And just make sure there's no negative comments in the comment section, guys. Just please leave your opinion. I just don't want any type of negativity. This movie's getting a lot of backlash and a lot of negativity for what it is. Just leave a simple like, dislike, and that's it. As well as also give me your opinions on the Corey Cunningham character, as well as do you think this will be the last Halloween movie in David Gordon Green's timeline, or do you think that we will get more Halloween movies from David Gordon Green in the next 3 to 5 years? Hit the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times, YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host, Marcus. Please be sure to shoot that like button, subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that notification bell to get all the latest content updates to the channel. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.